Here we are once again. We have issue 83. We're going to do the review of this. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we have is the Pelta-Class Medical Frigate. We haven't done this in a while, so it's 282 feet or meters long. It was built in the quad drive yards, multi-purpose frigate, but the Republic used it mostly for medical purposes. Had a Class 2 hyperdrive, had a crew of 900, passengers of 300. Cargo capacity was 275 tons. And it did have an armament, so there we go. As soon as the Clone Wars had begun, it became apparent that the principal difference between the two combatants, the Separatist use of droid forces versus the Republic's clones, would create unique sets of issues for both, and would influence military tactics and strategy accordingly. The battle droids that formed the backbone of the CIS army were produced in such impossibly large numbers and in so many different locations that it is impossible to give an accurate figure as to how many were ever manufactured. This, along with the fact that they were, in essence, disposable units, meant that one Republic clone trooper was seen as being worth dozens of droids. As such, the Republic was more concerned about the quality of its troops than their number. Growing their clone troops took time. Training them took more time. It also took time for the clones to gain battle experience and naturally required them to survive long enough to pass on such knowledge to their greener comrades. To allow for this, getting injured troops off the battlefield and to where they could be treated quickly became a top Republic priority, and that was where the Pelta-Class Frigate came in. Designed and manufactured by the Quat Drive Yards, there was no shame in mistaking the Pelta frigates for being a Corellian design. Resembling CEC's famous Consular-class corvettes, the Pelta-class frigate followed another Corellian obsession. It was designed to be highly modular with an internal and external systems uh, uh, with with its internal and external systems and layout able to be swapped around in a matter of hours by an experienced and appropriately equipped tech team. The vessel was intended primarily as a medical transport, but being well armed was no defenseless martyr in combat. Packing turbo lasers and point defense laser cannon, the Pelta-class frigate was also reasonably well armored. This was one reason why the frigates were selected to transport clone troopers at their most vulnerable. Let's talk about this down here because I don't think we really discussed it too much anywhere else. The human commander of the Phoenix class, the Phoenix Rebel Cell, Sato, was one of the senior commanders brought into the rebellion by Senator Bail Organa of Alderaan. He worked regularly for the senior agent Fulcrum, the code name for former Jedi Padawan Ahsoka Tano. Sato led the Phoenix fleet group that went to rescue the Lothal rebel cell at Mustafar, later adding the Ghost and its crew to their number. While the loss of the Phoenix home to an Imperial attack weakened the rebel cell, the Ghost and its crew made up for the loss many times over. Safe Haven. When the Republic commissioned the Haven-class medical stations, particular attention was paid to the vessel that would be most often traveling to and from it. As such, docking ports capable of locking into those on both sides of the Pelta-class were set around the outer circle of the medical station superstructure. These wedge-shaped cutouts allowed the frigates to dock as quickly and efficiently as possible, delivering their cargo of injured clones to receive urgent medical attention without delay. From the ashes of empire, as with so many Republic vessels, when the Clone Wars ended and the older order replaced by Palpatine's Galactic Empire, the Pelta-class frigates were sold off or mothballed, as were the Haven-class medical stations with which it had worked so closely. As a result, a number fell into the hands of nascent rebel alliance. One such Pelta was Phoenix Home, sometimes called Phoenix Base. Given the additional armor, plating, and slightly upgraded deflector shields, the ship, was the lead vessel in a mobile rebel cell commanded by Jun Sato that also included three CR-90 corvettes and a flight of A-wing starfighters. To allow for the transport and maintenance of the fighters, a small hangar was built into the hull of the vessel. Phoenix Home was also carried a number of RGC 6B escape pods, while other upgrades included its briefing room, CS Mark 9 hollow projector table. Cold Defense. Ahsoka and the Brainworms. During the Clone Wars, Padawan Ahsoka Tano and Barriss Offee were given light duties after their life-threatening but hugely successful part in the Republic victory at the Second Battle of Geonosis. Aboard a Pelta-Class vessel, the two Jedi were to transport medical supplies to Mace Windu and his troops. Unfortunately, a clone trooper had become infected by a brainworm, a parasite unique to Geonosis that allowed the Geonosian Queen to reanimate and control dead Geonosians. The clone trooper, Scythe, brought eggs aboard the frigate. These hatched, and soon the entire crew were dead or under the control of the brainworms. Even Barriss Offee was taken over before Ahsoka Tano was able to flood the ship with freezing coolant, driving the worms from Barriss and the clone troopers and saving the ship and its vital cargo. Commander Jun Sato, in our behind the scenes here, was a character created for the second season of the animated television series Star Wars Rebels. Being introduced in the first episode of the new season, his name pays respect to two influential figures in Japanese cinema, the director Jun Fukuda and score composer Masaru Sato, who worked together on the iconic Godzilla series. The idea to use the names of the new Rebel commander came from Star Wars Rebels executive producer Dave Filoni, who cited 1974's Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla as being his favorite film, and who had previously paid homage to the Godzilla movies with the Zillo Beast story arc that when working on Star Wars: The Clone Wars. So there you go. Again, if you're not watching Star Wars Rebels, you're missing out. Jakku. So if you've seen The Force Awakens, you're familiar with Jakku. So we're just going to kind of cruise through this a little bit. Some of this is going to be a little backstory about how Jakku got to have all the wrecked ships and all that kind of stuff there. So Jakku is an arid world located on the western reaches. For a time, it was the location of a secret Imperial base set underneath the planet's surface, but following the dissolution of the Empire, in no small part due to its defeat at the Battle of Jakku, the planet returned to being just another largely unremarkable desert world. The only navigational beacons on Jakku are found at the small Nema outpost, and it is here that travelers to the planet are inevitably drawn. The outpost is considered the capital of Jakku, where mineral ores mined from the planet are traded alongside salvage from the junk graveyards left by the Battle of Jakku. The salvage serves as the backbone of the planet's economy and is also sold on nearby worlds like Phonema Terminal and Ogem. Other services have sprung up to serve newcomers, all based around the ship maintenance yard and the thriving marketplace, replete with a healthy black market trade in guns for hire, bounty hunters, and more. There are very few permanent structures in the Nema outpost, though, and the settlement consists mainly of cargo containers and temporary awnings. There is a little or no accommodation available to visitors, so most end up sleeping aboard their own ships. Let's talk about the Battle of Jakku. It's one of the main reasons why I wanted to kind of go over this. Jakku played a pivotal role in the climax of the Galactic Civil War. The planet was the home to a secret Imperial research base that worked to develop new powerful weaponry and became the rallying point for Imperial forces as they retreated after the destruction of the second Death Star. 1 year and 4 days after the Battle of Endor, in the upper atmosphere of Jakku, a huge fleet of New Republic warships advanced on the Imperial vessels in an all-out attack. The Imperial fleet was crippled but managed to deploy their tractor beams on the Republic ships, taking many down with them to thunder into the sands of Jakku. These Imperials that those Imperials that survived managed to destroy their secret base before disappearing into the unknown regions. Jakku became a graveyard for Imperial and Republic vessels and home to scavengers long after. So there was a I think it was the three-part book series called Aftermath. Started with Aftermath, and I can't remember what the next ones were. But basically, they came out around the time of just before Force Awakens, I believe, or right around that time anyway. And it basically kind of filled in some of the gaps on basically like what happened with the Empire and all that kind of stuff, so you can kind of understand like how they got out to the unknown regions and whatnot. Um, but then the final part of that talks about basically what it synopsed there. So if you haven't read those books, they're pretty good. So go check them out. There are very few permanent structures on the Alp. Oh, I already read that part. Let's move on. The closest thing to a road that anyone will find on Jakku comes in the form of the Pilgrim Road. The name the locals of Nema Outpost gave an old Hapabor trail. The trail, which is reportedly far more popular with scavengers than pilgrims, runs through the Gozan Badlands region of the planet that leads to the sacred villages around Kelvin Ravine. Many sacred villages are found on Jakku, all with their own lifestyles and rules. Found in the otherwise empty area of the Kelvin Ravine, the village of Ta'anul is one of the biggest of these villages. Built around a large evaporator cistern, the villagers of Tuanul, I don't know, Tuanul. Somebody tell me how to pronounce that. Taunul. Follow an ancient and ascetic lifestyle and live humbly. Even though the peace-loving villagers reject warfare, they still keep some weapons for defense, though choosing to create their own rather than be reliant on the mass-produced units brought to the planet by off-world traders. Imperial law prohibited any display of organized worship, but the villagers of Taunul retained their firm belief in and respect for the virtues of the Force, even though they were not gifted with the ability to use it themselves. Scavenger World Jakku is home to an untold number of scavengers, each out to make a quick credit from any old junk they could find. Most of the time, this amounted to picking up old bits of metal or a starship, but sometimes returned more interesting quarry. One such occasion was when the Astromech BB-8 made it through the Gozan and was captured by one of the Badlands' more thuggish denizen. High atop his cybernetic lugabeast, Tito was well known around Nema for specializing in recovering droids and droid parts. Like all Tito, the species had no individual names, he was skittish and territorial, believing the area of the starship graveyard southwest of Nema to be his alone, but not overly threatening. Ultimately, the astromech and the precious content it held was rescued by the human scavenger Ray. We all know about Ray. The area known as the Gozan Badlands is found between the Nema Outpost and the Kelvin Ravine. However, many will say it is between Carbon Ridge and the Sinking Fields. Ask any 3 locals on Jakku where Gozan is, and you'll get 6 answers. That's pretty crazy. Regardless, one thing all agree on is that the Gozan is a dangerous place for any living being to travel across unless they know the area very well. The scavenger Ray lived in the Gozan Badlands in the repurposed belly of a half submerged AT-AT, formerly known as Hellhound 2. To the north of Nima Outpost, the region known as the Sinking Fields is another of Jakku's main dangers. Thanks to the properties of the sand and the underlying terrain, the Sinking Fields are deeply perilous, and many of those that have tried to cross the region have been swallowed whole, never to be seen again. Of course, we know all about that. The TIE fighter fell in. Animal life. Jakku is a harsh environment, but nevertheless, some Animal life thrives. Native life forms include the nocturnal sand borer known as the night watcher worm. In terms of avian life, the steel peckers are iron-beaked carrion birds that are drawn to and eat metal to aid with the breakdown of the metal they eat, and using a method similarly evolved by birds and reptiles all across the galaxy, the steel peckers collect solid, non-oxidizing ores and minerals such as vanadium and corundum in their gizzards. Other creatures and parasites have been brought to the planet, some aboard the crashed vessels from the Battle of Jakku, and they have managed to survive for almost 3 decades, finding their own place in the planet ecology. Battlefront. Behind the scenes here. Though the majority of Star Wars fans worldwide would be introduced to Jakku in the setting of the opening scene of The Force Awakens, the desert world had, in fact, already appeared in various mediums. Prior to the film's release in December 2015, Claudia Gray novel Lost Stars was set on Jakku, while a week before the film opened in cinema, a downloadable Battle of Jakku level was released for the EA Games Star Wars Battlefront. The level allowed players to experience the engagement with the creative battle-scarred landscape of Jakku as seen during The Force Awakens, and included the two maps Graveyard of Giants and Gozen Badlands. The Battle of Jakku even featured at Disney World or Disneyland in Anaheim, USA, as part of a temporary overlay to their popular Space Mountain attraction. As part of an event called Season of the Force, guests took on the role of the reconnaissance team sent to investigate the presence of Imperials on the desert world. There you go. That is everything in the review of issue 83. And this is essentially all the stuff that we did in this issue. In the next issue, we're going to get some more detail parts, piping and whatnot. Some of the side frame stuff, I don't know if that's all of it. I don't think it is, but that's what we're going to get. And we'll see what we're going to be doing there. Something that I'm recently getting into is board games. And in this case, and since this is Star Wars themed, it's Star Wars Imperial Assault. It's basically an RPG type game, and uh, you get all these little characters. I'm waiting for mine to show up. I ordered it the other day, and it'll be showing up. And you can buy these kind of this is known as an allies pack, and you can buy these and then be able to use them and part of the game. Essentially, in the game for these anyway, there's tokens and to represent these, and I decided I kind of wanted to replace those tokens. So I knew that this would be part of the base game. There's several expansions, and so um, I wanted to get some of the stuff for the expansions. These are the Echo Base Troopers, and same scenario where these are. There is an expansion where they return to Hoth, and so in anticipation of getting that expansion, I decided to get these because, provided that I do like the game, I will probably get the expansion, and it's it'll be good to have some additional troops and whatnot. So, um, reason why I'm showing you this is because you can anticipate seeing me paint these. So I'm not going to leave them this color. Once I get all of the um, Once I get the base game, I will probably start. I'll have a series where I'm painting some of the figures. There's I think 30 or 36 figures that actually comes with the base game. Like I said, I got those troopers over there to replace some of the tokens in the base game, and two of the figures are Luke Skywalker, the A New Hope version, and Darth Vader. So I'll be painting those up as well. So be on the lookout for those series of me painting those. And I might try, if people are interested, I might try to see about having a play series because this game you can play it solo using an app, and the app will act as the basically the dungeon master or the game master, and tell you what the Imperials are supposed to do, and then you run as the Republic. So I might do a series with that if people are interested. You can see me kind of work my way through that. So that might be fun. But back to the Falcon. Be on the lookout for issue 84 build. Very possible that might be a two-part series where we're going to be painting the details on this. So look for that coming out on Friday. All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for watching, and may the force be with you always.